Tell your story.
Change the conversation.
Organized by students.
TEDxYouth at SHC.
We like to think that there is someone out there for all of us. But isn't there also something for all of us? Something that makes us want to get out of bed in the morning. Something that makes the time fly by. Romantic comedies and love stories show us the journey of finding our soulmate. But you can actually find your passion in the same way. Falling in love with an idea or a passion is remarkably similar to falling in love with a person. 2 years ago, I fell in love with teaching and science. And coincidentally, my love story aligned perfectly with some of my favorite rom-coms. Now, every great romantic comedy starts with the meet cute. You know, like a cute meeting between your first two characters. Well, the meet cute is when your two characters meet in some serendipitous and perfect way, and everything aligns beautifully. Like in Notting Hill, when Hugh Grant spills orange juice on Julia Roberts. Or in my case, when I was helping one of the kids that I tutor with her science fair project. Now, she was having some difficulties because she wasn't a big fan of science. So I wanted to find something that would make her really excited about learning. So we picked slime. Now, this is the perfect fit, the perfect combination of fun science and learning. We ended up creating the Slime Olympics. We made different kinds of slime and we gave them games. How long can they stretch? How high can they jump? Just seeing the look of joy on her face and watching how excited she got about science was one of the greatest moments of my life. Now, you may be thinking, how does this relate to a meet cute? Well, this was the first time that my passion for science met my passion for teaching. In fact, this was the start of quite the love story. Now, after the meet cute comes the midpoint, or the getting to know you stage. The point at which your two characters spend more and more time together until they eventually fall in love. Like in When Harry Met Sally, when they become each other's best friends. I fell in love with science and teaching through designing a curriculum called Bee Blooms, which teaches students about the importance of bees in our environment. Now, when you're dating, you learn everything about a person, your similarities, your differences, everything that shapes the relationship. Working on Bee Blooms was almost like being in a relationship. I dedicated so much time and I learned all about my passions and how to combine them. I was fully committed and I even made a website. I spent hours making seed paper out of California native wildflowers, and I bought all of the supplies that I would need to teach kids about bees. I had fully dedicated myself. Unfortunately, after a big commitment often comes the all is lost or panic stage. At this point in a rom-com, your two characters have some seemingly unfixable problem that causes a super sad falling out. Everything basically seems to be hopeless and no progress can be made. This happened to me midway through sophomore year. I had my idea, I had my supplies, but I didn't know where to go from there. I had my curriculum, but I didn't know how to get it out into schools. I had to decide what the next steps of my project were going to be, but I didn't know how to do that. I had to pluck up my courage and risk falling into that classic sad montage scene of a rom-com, even with the frankly pathetic possibility of those brief scenes of desperation with melancholy music playing in the background. Fortunately, like the characters in my beloved rom-coms, I was not alone in this journey. And through the help of my parents, my friends, and some really amazing adults that had experience with supporting new initiatives, I was able to launch my curriculum into the real world. Like in Say Anything, when Lloyd Dobler holds the boombox beneath Diane's window playing In Your Eyes, I had reached the climax of my love story. Now, the point of a climax is to take a risk and hope that it pays off. My risk may seem tiny compared to this dramatic act of love, but it was climactic in my life. My first risk was my first lesson for Bee Blooms. My lesson was for a group of students visiting my high school, and I was completely terrified. Now, this is the first time that I had taught more than one student, so as you can imagine, my heart was pounding, my throat was dry, and I was fidgeting nervously throughout. I had 30 pairs of eyes looking at me, and for someone who has a bit of stage fright, that's not a comforting thing. But I pushed through, and I took the risk anyway, because at this point I had no choice. But the great thing is, within minutes, I just started gushing about bee blooms and science because I was so completely excited about what I was learning that all of my fear went away. I took my risk and it paid off big time. And now I get to enjoy the reward of knowing what I love to do. Last of all is the resolution, the happily ever after, the end of one story and the beginning of another. This year, I finished my curriculum and have started getting it out into the world. I want to show students how powerful they can be in enacting change because the weight of past mistakes has fallen onto our shoulders. I want to inspire them to love nature as I do because maybe then they will work towards a better future for our planet. This dream marks the next chapter of my life, one where I plan on spending as much time with science and teaching as I possibly can. I hope that I'll be able to continue bee blooms, but no matter what, the love story that brought about bee blooms has changed my life forever. We all have our passions, our very own loves that we could spend the rest of our lives with. Fall in love with an idea and write your own rom-com. I dare you to let your love story unfold and see where it takes you. Thank you.